Hey, welcome back. Let's quickly get the housekeeping out of the way. This video is sponsored by Spacedock, a company that I've created. More about them a little bit later. So I stumbled across this Reddit post, why I'm leaving UX, and it's essentially a person trying to create an argument of why they're not necessarily enjoying their job and why they're leaving the career of UX. And I thought it might be helpful for some of you to go through every single point that this person has and provide either an explanation or a counter argument towards the points, just to paint a better picture of what the career of design actually looks like in reality. From outside in, there are some misconceptions that some designers might have, especially early on within their career when they try to break into the industry of design. However, if you actually get into the product design's reality, it's a lot more complex than most people think it is. It's not just about creating some cool marketing websites and some graphics here and there. There is a lot more that goes into it. It's about designing complex flows, coming up with very complex solutions to complex problems, thinking about different states, thinking about how users might actually use a product, understanding human interactions, and more. So let's go through the post together. But before we do that, I just want to thank Spacedock, the sponsor of this video. Spacedock is the research and knowledge tool I wish I had as a designer. As designers, we constantly juggle research, hold numerous meetings, manage stakeholders, learn new skills, and more. This is where Spacedock comes in, a comprehensive ecosystem of research and thinking tools that bring everything together into one place. Capture anything you want for a very specific project or any item that you want to come back to at a later time, simply by using our browser extension. Every item that you capture is automatically titled, tagged, and embedded within the library, allowing you to search for it later in a way that aligns with the way that you think. Additionally, everything that you captured is treated according to its type. Save an image and the colors are extracted. Save a PDF and the content is searchable. Save an article and you get a reader-friendly mode. Save a YouTube link and you get the YouTube preview. You can also customize your environment based on your research needs. For example, when working on a project for a client, you can create categories to organize similar content and add custom properties based on your use case. So for example, you can see how I have all of this custom data attached to this component. In the same way, you could do the same thing for your customers. This is a profile on Alina, but she is also attached to a customer interview that I've done with Alina, which has a relationship. I've added her as a customer. And this is the customer interview that I've done with her. All within one place, all searchable. You can then consolidate everything in spaces to create a focused project environment. Set up workflows to track your work, like this, and invite clients and contributors to collaborate with you on a project. Of course, this is just one use case, but there are many ways to use Spacedock to capture content, research, inspiration, learning materials, and more, and then later use it within your projects. Give it a try today, and thank you for supporting this channel. Cool, back to it. Let's go through the post together. All right, so the person is saying that I have 11 years of experience and am currently a senior level UX designer at a FANG company. I worked at two FANGs, most recently, smaller digital agency, a large marketing/advertising agency, and a medium-sized product company. This is why I am sick of being a UX designer. So number one, constantly getting unsolicited, uninformed design feedback on work in progress Figma files from stakeholders and having to explain countless times the design process and the UX research testing we rely on to help guide UX decisions, despite having processes in place for more formal design reviews that will be more informed and productive. More generally, the constant feedback that everyone thinks they can do my job better than I can. I want to emphasize something really important for you to remember. Unlike other professions like accounting, engineering, HR, even marketing, Design specifically is a highly visual profession. So essentially you're creating screens and user flows. Therefore, they are the easiest things for people to, at the very least, feel like they can comprehend and provide feedback and opinions towards. It's going to be very rare for a CEO without a background in programming or accounting to provide feedback for those two professions. However, when it comes to design, it is almost guaranteed that you're going to get the CEO or some sort of a stakeholder of a company being extremely involved in almost all aspects of design, especially when the culture is not there to sort of keep management out of the design work. Unfortunately, though, this is just the reality of the situation. That's just how the design career is. And the way for you to sort of combat that is for you to set up ways of working, educating your colleagues and the rest of the company on ways of working and design feedback processes, so on and so forth. In some cases, it would even help for you to restrict the access to some of the tools like Figma so that your CEO or the PM or whatever can't just jump in and quickly have a look at a few designs and providing feedback when the design is not really finished yet. The more you gain experience as a designer, the more you learn how to manage situations like this when it comes to it. Number 2, leadership. Offering up weak design solutions on the fly without really thinking about the user goal and journeys. To answer this one, let's talk about the core of your job as a designer. A lot of designers make the mistakes of thinking that they're just doing some designs for some screens and user flows, and they often forget to think about the actual business side of things. Businesses, on the other hand, are a lot more complex than just some design and some design teams. They face time constraints. They need to bring in revenue in order to stay alive. They have multiple teams and departments that need to come together and collaborate with each other. On top of which, there are engineering constraints and limitations. How big is the engineering team to be able to work on a design that you have? And on top of all of that, some businesses also have to consider how to manage investors and have a communication line open with them on top of customer service and so many other things that might not be immediately visible to you. So when it comes to design only represents a very, very small portion of the business. This sometimes, if not more often, means that there is usually not enough time for you to go and do extensive research as you wanted to, or spend a lot of time designing the perfect solution for the problem that you're trying to solve. And even if you do have the time to do the perfect design, there might not be enough engineering resources to bring your vision to life. I would even go as far as arguing that your job most of the time is not to create the perfect solution, but the good enough solution that is beneficial for the business, but also provides a good experience or a good enough experience for the customer. And it is up to you as a designer to hit that balance. And spoiler alert, this is not always creatively satisfying for you as a designer to do so. So you just have to get used to the idea that that is the reality of most businesses. Remember, you're not designing for yourself or your satisfaction or Dribble, which is a design community. You're designing for a business and a customer with the limitations that you have on both of those ends. Number 3, having to constantly wear multiple hats, fulfilling aspects of roles, namely product management and program management, due to the natural overlap with these areas, but no clear demarcation between what I'm responsible for versus them. Role ambiguity to the max. Yes, there's nothing more that I could really add to this one. It's just another reality of a design job. A significant part of a designer's role, especially a product designer, is to think about the product as a whole. You have to understand your customers, the business, the industry, and there are many overlaps between what you do and what an engineer does and what the product manager does and what marketing does, so on and so forth. And you just have to basically wear multiple hats at different times and try to balance a happy medium between yourself and all of these teams that you work with. The broader your skill set, the more valuable you are to the business. All right, number 4. Only about 10 to 20% of my time is spent actually designing. The rest is presenting decks and mocks for deck updates, facilitating alignments, evangelizing concepts and vision work, negotiating product scope and launch milestones, working on cross-team requests, bugs, the list goes on. A lot of the work is tedious and not fulfilling. Yes, this is another reality of designing and building software. A small portion of your job is actually spent on creating new designs and solutions and all of those fun things. And a big portion of it is about presenting your work, selling it, advocating for your work, evangelizing the position of design within the company, and trying to convince management on why they should spend time and money on better design solutions versus mediocre ones. And a huge portion of your time is spent fixing bugs, fixing existing issues that you have on a platform, coming up with makeshift solutions for problems that the business has on the day, and working around the deadlines that you get. Number 5, design leaders who are incredibly out of touch and provide useless and counterproductive feedback. I can see what the person is talking about over here. The best solution that I've found when it comes to dealing with management that I don't necessarily agree with on things is that you just have to work on your skills on managing people and communicating with people with different personalities. Again, the more you do this job, the more you understand that different personalities require different approaches, and hopefully that would make your life a little bit easier when it comes to speaking and communicating with management and other teams generally. In almost every single industry that you go to, you are going to face people that are more difficult to deal with, and that's just a reality of almost any job. It's not unique to design. Another thing that I could suggest that you would do is to just generally improve your selling and communication skills in order to sell your designs and advocate for them better. Number 6, lack of career upward mobility and the pressure to be more visible and above and beyond with work so that I can build a case for promo and essentially fight for it on my own, while already having roles and responsibilities that take 50 to 60 hours a week to fulfill. I also believe that this is a reality of almost every job as well. You always have to put in the work to consistently deliver great results for the business in order to stand out and in order to prove your value to the business. I'll make a video in the future that would explain to you how to negotiate your position with your boss and how to sell your value to the company a little bit better. But generally speaking, most of this is up to you. A lot of businesses, unfortunately, don't like to promote internally. They go and hire an external person instead, which I believe that is wrong. I think businesses should mostly invest internally on people that they know and they currently have. That's just something that some businesses have, that culture. But I believe that if you constantly put in the good work and building a good relationship between yourself and the leadership team, you can definitely make better cases for yourself in order to get that promotion and move up the ladder within your company. Number 7, engineering constantly saying design is blocking, but once they get the approved design specs, they take their sweet time and overscope features, saying that they take X% more time to build than they actually do. This is yet another reality of the job, maintaining a good relationship with the engineering team. This is why I always strongly advocate for every single designer to learn how to code, and if not to learn how to code, at the very least learn how to use tools like Webflow and Framer in order to understand a little bit of that basic side of coding, which would help you so much down the road. One thing to understand about engineering is that it is a lot more difficult to estimate engineering work because of the nature of their job. So for example, for us, in order to come up with estimations on how long it might take us to come up with a certain solution, we simply look at the problem, we look at what data is available to us, we might do some further research, we'll go and look at some inspiration and some competitor analysis, come up with a few design options, have some back and forth between the team, and then we present that to the team and basically we can call that a day. It's a lot easier to estimate that work compared to what the engineering team does, where in order for them to come up with an estimation, they do very similar things to us. They do this thing called spiking to understand the problem a little bit better and see what solutions are available. They then provide some sort of estimation to the business, but they go to work on something and then they realize something that they just couldn't have possibly accounted for is going to push back the timeline a little bit. So that's just a reality of engineering. Understanding a complexity of coding and their challenges can lead you to provide better designs, better documentation, building better design systems, communicating better with the engineers in order to minimize the delays that could come along when it comes to implementing your designs into code. And always remember that you're both working on the same team, not against each other. Number 8, product managers who don't know how to lead teams, communicate effectively, and have an ego the size of a bus, not to mention massive control issues. For an example, I had a PM who would use UX research findings as his weapon of choice when it suits his agenda, but when UX pushes for something different based on UX research results, he fights back saying it's a lower priority. Honestly, he really sucks working with and is the bane of my UX existence. There are always good and bad people in every single department. I believe when some designers feel frustrated with some PMs, it's because of the different backgrounds and different ideas that both of these people have, and they both are trying to advocate for the product. So you just have to manage those relationships a little bit better, as I spoke about before. But as I said, working with people is just a part of a job. Design is a very collaborative type of work, and you just have to get used to collaborating with others and dealing with different personalities as well. The final point that I want to talk about is you need to learn how to handle feedback. I understand that when you go and work days, maybe even weeks on a piece of a design, and you're putting a lot of work and energy into this thing, and when you present it to stakeholders, you might get some feedback that you don't necessarily like. What I mean by learning how to handle feedback is to not take feedback personally. Just because someone says that a piece of a design work that you've done isn't good doesn't mean that you're a bad designer. It just might mean that they don't necessarily agree with your solution, of which this is why you should learn how to sell your work. Half of the work is just about doing the design, and the other half is to come up with a way to sell it to the person you're trying to sell the design to. And sometimes it's good to realize that the feedback that you're receiving is actually valid, and you need to spend more time thinking about the feedback that you've received in order to improve your design and constantly just improving yourself and getting better. The more experience you gain, the better you can understand how to handle meetings and selling designs, gathering feedback, what to listen to, what to ignore, so on and so forth. Alright, that's it. I just want to make this video to quickly go through the reality of a design job, what it entails, and what you could sort of expect. As always, I really appreciate you watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or you want to discuss anything, put it in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.